Hey Mark, we're back again. Another episode of Strategy and Conversions. We're now on episode 7.
Yeah, God, that time it's just flown past. It really has. I don't know how we managed to get so far ahead when something just started out as just a little conversation, really. But it's
And
incredible.
it seems like yesterday as well that it was just that we did that first one,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
now it's just it's gone from strength to strength. I've been talking to different people about it. We've been getting more listens,
yeah,
from different places,
yeah,
and obviously we've got indexed on different sites as well. So we're talking before about kind of Apple,
yeah,
Google, and Spotify, and YouTube, and stuff like that. We've now got Apple Music. And we've
yeah.
got Stitcher as well and stuff like that, and TuneIn, which is like a big radio platform. So yeah, mate, it's all going from strength to strength,
Wow.
which is great. We've got the website up and running as well, which is
Yeah,
just that sort of holding page where we just got the links to where people can check the podcast out. So obviously go and check that out at strategyandconversions.com. There's also a little box on there as well, which is just like a little email sign up. So there's nothing to kind of sell to you or anything like that right now. But all we're saying is just keep in touch with us as a supporter,
yeah.
because when we start to kind of evolve in whatever we do, you'll be on the list for us to hear about it. And we'll touch on that later on in this podcast, because I know in last week's episode we were talking a bit about maybe we should start a mastermind, and
Yeah.
we quickly decided look, it's not the best business decision right now to do, but we have thought about something else, and we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
But what we did talk about with this kind of episode is to help people with the next kind of 3 months. So if we're looking at right now within the UK, we're looking at some restrictions being lifted from the
Yeah.
kind of COVID measures in the roadmap, and hopefully sort of touch wood that next month is when the next kind of restrictions get lifted, and so say everything is back to normal.
Well,
And
that's when offices are meant to be reopened, aren't they? So there'll be a reopening, and I know from a lot of stuff that I've talked to, people I've talked to, and also websites I've gone onto. I think a lot of people are thinking there'll be a kind of a hybrid model where some people will work from home, some people will go into the office occasionally, and some people will just want to be there all the time because they've really missed it, missed that vibe and that environment.
I think that's exactly it, mate. That hybrid model. I
Yeah,
think I've been kind of talking about that for the past kind of 6 months.
yeah,
I was talking to a guy actually that deals with the kind of like the interior kind of planning for offices and stuff like that.
right,
That is their game, kind of
yeah,
building new offices. And I guess through the whole kind of pandemic, you kind of think, well, look, is there even a business there anymore? But actually, companies are adapting what they already have
yeah,
to
yeah,
give that kind of hybrid model. And I mean, we kind of jumped the gun a bit with this kind of conversation. And what I was going to say is, obviously with these restrictions, what opportunities are there coming up? But that hybrid model, like you said, man, I think that's definitely going to be the way forward. And I can even
yeah.
imagine different offices as well having things like Zoom rooms.
Yeah, I guess that'll happen. Well, because Zoom's here to stay, isn't it? I mean, so many people, a lot of people, a lot of people I've spoken to saying, "Oh, it's not as personal, and you can't have the same kind of interaction as face to face." But it's changed everything. I mean, Zoom has kept us in touch with so many people, through just families and that kind of stuff, and through businesses and one to ones and stuff like well, this especially. And it's not going to go away. In fact, it's probably going to, the use of Zoom will still be as high as it was before, I think. And maybe people won't sit on it all day, but it's still going to be a big part, I think, of business transactions, because it just opens up the world, doesn't it? That's one thing that's really been apparent this during the pandemic.
That big thing there is, like you said, it's opened up the world, right? It's opened up possibilities. Now,
Yeah.
it's not it's not really anything that's changed. If we go back a year
No.
ago, that technology was always there and stuff like that. But what has happened is people have changed. People are more open to doing things. To be. They've been forced into do it. They got forced into doing things with moving online, and
Yeah.
needing to run businesses online and needing to do this. And even people who were, say, employed or working in businesses been forced to do this kind of thing as well.
Mm.
So that's where I think it's been great that, yeah, okay, it's opened up the world and stuff like that. What I actually feel the danger is that the companies who feel like do you know what, we're going to go back to working in the office, and we're going to go back to in person, and we're going to forget Zoom.
I think that's going to be a very difficult decision to make, because I think there's so much more business opportunities that have opened up because of Zoom, that to suddenly cut it out of their business, their business kind of daily life, I think that's a difficult decision. If you have a business that is really only dealing locally and can manage locally and supply locally, so they're more of a product, maybe a product-based business, then I guess that's fine. You can understand that, because they might like the visit down the road to to just down to someone else's office and talk about what they have. But I think especially services. There's so many service businesses now that are around. I mean, I was doing a group coaching call earlier on about midday today, and on that call there was somebody from Dublin and somebody from Canada, 7 a.m. in Canada, but never. I mean, that would not. Well, yeah, I think that would have been very, very difficult to attract pre-COVID, because people weren't used to opening up that much, and like you said, jumping onto a call in a different country, because there's no problem. You just get out of bed, roll up, and 7 a.m. And people are quite people have accepted as well that the standard of dress, if you like. People have accepted the fact you look fairly smart and tidy, but I think you said this the other day. People know that you're still in your home, so that so the suit and tie type thing, which was going out anyway, is kind of dropped. You just have to look fairly presentable from the neck upwards.
It's really funny, actually. I was talking to a guy who's an IFA, right? And he basically said that he left his position. He was working in a firm. He left his position about just over a year ago, so before sort of the pandemic hit, which is always a dodgy time to kind of be starting a new business. But he set up on himself, and he said the reason being is he wasn't allowed to be himself. So he's into music and that kind of stuff, right? So he's got long hair and a beard, and he said he was actually told that he had to cut his hair I know that's about 30 years ago, right? That was kind of like that kind of way. But anyway, the thing that I'm getting there with him is that the thing is, people buy from people. Some people will resonate with him. There'll be people that turn around and go, you know what, you look like a beach bum or something, or a metalhead, and I'm not going to trust anyone with my money for that. But the flip side is, there's going to be people who are just put off by the kind of suits and stuff like that, and want to have a chat with someone.
And that's interesting, because it comes back to one of the original podcasts we were talking about. You've got to, copywriting has got to show your true character. You've got to stand out, because you've got to stand for something. Well, Zoom has been brilliant, because people, as you said, people buy from people, and they can see, I really like that guy. I just really love the whole style of everything. And like you said, it creates a kind of a polarity where people will say, I'm not. I don't trust this person. So other people are going to say, we could really resonate with this guy. And the difference is that that's what has to happen anyway, because you can't sell to everybody. And this is the whole point, again, of the filtering. It becomes a natural filter. People look into your life, if you like, and they will make that judgment call. And that, as I say, a natural filter.
I think that's it. You can't hide now, can you? That's the thing. Is that with Zoom and stuff like that, if you just had that kind of that profile picture on, or whatever it is, people are going to be like, well, why can't I see that person? Whereas, a year ago or something like that, with email, possibly the phone and stuff like that, is you could hide behind a kind of business entity and stuff like that. Whereas now, it's opened up this where there's more kind of trust that goes on. People talk.
I think it's probably done a great deal for that. Actually, it really has done a great deal. Yeah.
I think what I was sort of saying as well, with the whole kind of thing of, okay, people that maybe don't embrace Zoom, is I think that this is where I actually see there being so much opportunity for the sole trader, the small business, and the local business, and anyone really who embraces this. Because what I reckon will happen, because of that point that we just said, is that, all right, look, you can't hide, people buy from people, all that sort of stuff, is the big companies don't have that, because they kind of have the kind of call centers and stack them high kind of thing. And not saying anything bad about the people that kind of work in call centers and stuff like that, but it's just that they're there to do a job.
Yeah.
They're not invested in, making the next kind of step happen and building those relationships and stuff like that. They just kind of got their targets, where those kind of big companies, that they're not doing this. They're not doing Zoom.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
You still have to make the phone call and go through and stuff like that. And I actually feel like they're in danger, because there will be people, don't get me wrong, there will be the people who still go on to kind of like the aggregator sites and stuff like that online, and they just do the online stuff. They don't want to speak to anyone. There will be the people that they want to pick up the phone and they want to talk to someone. My dad, for example, he's never going to do Zoom, right? Yeah. He's going to want to phone up and speak to them. But then there's going to be the people who, throughout this pandemic, have got used to doing things on Zoom and stuff like that. And it's like, well, if you're not on Zoom, I don't trust you. I don't want to deal with you.
That's true, actually, because it's interesting, because I'm in a few different groups, coaching groups and that kind of thing. And it's interesting how people they originally said, I can't go on Zoom, I don't like being on video, who now go on Zoom every day, because it's just like conversation. It's become a conversation now. They know that they were missing out.
It's become the norm. If you set up to have a meeting with someone or one-to-one, or whatever it is,
what's the Zoom?
Is Zoom.
Yeah.
I was on a group call the other week, and I was trying to arrange a call with a guy. And I just said, are we using my link or your link? And someone else said, is that the new chat up line for 2021? Your link or mine? And I'm like, it's that way, isn't it? It's not the case. You don't turn around and say, look, should we set up a phone call? It's always Zoom.
Well, that's unusual now. There's a couple of people who said to me, this is another sort of verb now. Let's just say, I'm all zoomed out. Let's have a phone call.
Exactly that, mate. That was something I was about to touch on, right? So that kind of zoomed out kind of thing, and let's set up a phone call. Well, with these restrictions being open or being lifted, that phone call part is probably going to go away, and it's going to be in person. So it's going to be like, should we do a Zoom or should we get together? Should we get and stuff like that? And I'll be honest, right? Do you know what? My kind of where I'm at, I was talking to a guy this morning, and he lives locally to me. And a couple of years ago, we used to get together at the cafe, just the cafe at the road, and we would have breakfast and have a chat and stuff like that. And I was just talking with him, and I said, I can't wait to get back to that, right? But on the flip side is that I also don't want to be around people. I've kind of got set in my ways where I'm just like, I'm like, if you could just open up the cafe and I could go in and we could have a chat, great, But I don't want to go where there's masses of crowds and stuff like that, But that's me personally, and everything. Some people may love that,
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think I'm various people I've talked to on LinkedIn and stuff, or take them for a chat on Zoom or something. It's interesting. There's some people who have missed it so much and can't wait to get into crowds. But I am like you. I big crowd. I've never been a great fan of big crowds. Anyway, I've never been a really big city person. But the thought of getting back onto crowded roads and commuting to a meeting place, and it fills me with dread, to be honest. I'd much prefer just be able to see them and talk on Zoom and meet them occasionally, but in a park or something, somewhere out in the open.
That's exactly it, mate. But I think, like you were saying, so with that kind of people wanting to get back out into the crowds, and we can't necessarily do that yet.
No.
I know these kind of restrictions being lifted mean that we can meet more people outside, and it actually means that people can meet inside as well. I think from next week, I was talking to a client the other week where they have a yoga studio, right? So it's like they can open up and they can start doing classes and stuff like that. But we're also looking at, okay, what else does that make possible? So it was like, okay, well, possibly you could put on some sort of training day, like a VIP day and stuff like that. And you may only be able to have 6 people. And it may mean that it's not a premium or you're making tons of money, but it's also a quick cash generator because you're facilitating that meeting. And people who have been locked away as if it was like jail, right? but people that have been locked down for all this kind of time, they are craving some sort of experience, something different. That, if you have a training course or something like that, that you could say, right, okay, look, we're going to do this. It's only going to be a small group. I think you could clean up. I think you've got a
Yeah,
great opportunity
I,
there.
I think you're right. I think there is definitely a place for those small seminars to come back in again,
Mm,
where people can actually start really bouncing ideas off each other. It's easy. That's the thing, isn't it? Webinars work to a certain extent, but seminars, I don't know. They're just obviously it's that extra dimension of actually seeing people face to face. But having a small group in a seminar is brilliant because everybody gets to talk and everybody gets to share their ideas, and even that doesn't always happen on Zoom. Some people are quiet on Zoom, and you actually, if you're in a meeting, you actually have to pick them out. Whereas when they're in a room, I think because people have been locked, as you say, they've been in lockdown for so long. I don't think they'll be quiet anymore. I think they really will want to talk to people and open up a bit, which is great. It'll be great for their confidence, but also those people everyone has something to say, and they may have some fantastic ideas that they've never really opened up with before. So that could be a possibility. All of a sudden, they come up with this killer idea that helps a company, just move up a whole step in their turnover ladder, kind of thing. That they can
yeah.
produce another product or service, and take that out to market.
I think that's it. The whole kind of Zoom stuff with business and networking. I know we've both done networking in person before, where
Yeah,
for many years. That's how we first met, actually,
yeah,
for a networking event. And then we've got to the point now with online networking. I don't know about you, Mel. I haven't done any face-to-face networking for the whole kind of year and
no,
stuff like that. And you can definitely tell that the pros and cons from each, right? I mean,
yeah,
there's networking events online where I'm talking to people in Scotland and Bolton and Newcastle, even around the world. Talking to people in Holland and stuff like that. It's insane
yeah.
the opportunity that we have here. But the other side is that personal touch. So, like you said, I think there's a Zoometica as well. Like, people don't know when to kind of jump in, when to interrupt, or maybe they don't
Yeah,
get to say what they want to say.
yeah, you're
Whereas,
right. Yeah,
in person, there would be that part where, for one, you're waiting for the event to begin and you're having a bit of a side chat.
yeah, yeah,
There'll be the time when you're getting the coffee,
yeah,
probably even the time when you pass going to the toilet or something like
yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah,
and then
yeah.
after the event as well. And there's all these different opportunities to speak with different people and just have these kind of side chats that don't necessarily mean that they're talking about business, but they're just building those relationships. And I
Building
feel that's
relationship.
definitely
Yeah.
been missing.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, and that I think that's true because for the best will in the world, you can have as many breakout rooms as you like, but again, when people say, "I'm just going to get a coffee," they'll go and talk to whoever else is in the house about something completely unrelated. Now, if that was in a conference room or something, they'd be talking to you about something completely unrelated, and we don't get to build up that kind of real knowledge of what they do in their spare time and hobbies. It's interesting, isn't it, when you have a meeting on Zoom and you introduce people. So what are your hobbies? They'll give you a kind of a bit of a canned answer. Some will open up more, but some will give you a bit of a canned answer. But when you're face to face and you talk about your dog or something or whatever, and say, oh yeah, we had that the other day, and that would never come out on Zoom. That's the kind of thing you do miss.
And do you know what? In one respect, that may seem irrelevant, right? Actually, the other part is these other touch points of,
Yeah,
I like this person, I'm
yeah,
getting to know this person, I trust this person,
totally. Yeah,
all because you're talking about a dog, or you're
yeah,
talking about a similar interest in music, or
exactly.
you
Yeah,
watch the same sporting event the night
yeah.
before.
And it's the common interest, isn't it? It's
Common
suddenly
interest.
is it just a very may seem a very little one, but it's another bond that you build up. So that trust is I mean, you can equate that actually, I suppose, is that building up trust is a series of twined bonds.
Mm.
The thicker that thing becomes, the more entwined it becomes with each other, then the stronger that trust is. Just like a suspension bridge, I guess.
Wow.
And my head's full of all these stupid analogies, but you can't pull that apart. Whereas one single strand you can still pull apart.
Yeah.
But when that really becomes strong, then you know the other person so well that it's so easy for them to for you to do business with them.
I guess as well, this is a kind of part of, even if it's online or in person, sort of networking and just, I guess even for marketing in a certain extent as well, is that if you're just doing something in a small amount of kind of effort or within a small amount of time, and it's not working, to your kind of your standards or what you're trying to achieve, you stop doing it and class it as it didn't work. But over time is where that really builds up. So like you said, those kind of those strands are all, they're making that relationship thicker and stuff like that. Is the person that you're networking with, in one sort of, I was just about to give an answer, but I'm just thinking, actually, me and you are a perfect example, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
4 years ago, whatever it is,
Wow.
kind of meeting at a networking event, and
Yeah,
we've done bits and pieces over the years and stuff like that, and now we're doing something serious.
yeah.
I say serious, we're never going to be serious, but it's
True.
like, but we're at that stage now, that I think it's probably got to that point where I'm just like, do you know what, I respect and trust Mark 100%.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Vice
I
versa,
did
yeah.
like however many years ago, but it's just that now I just know that, for one, you know what, mate, if I couldn't make it to see a client, I could send you in and I know that everything would be fine. I know that if I needed to plan something out or something wasn't quite working or I couldn't get my head around something, I could speak with you and it would be done. That's been built up over time. And I think,
Yeah. Yeah.
just to flip that with marketing, is I think that's what a lot of people do sometimes within their marketing in general. And that's why that kind of strategy side is important, because we're working towards something and we're building that up over time.
Yeah.
Some people will just put some stuff out there. Maybe it doesn't work. And they're like, oh, that didn't work, or they're not
Yeah.
my kind of audience and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I guess it's difficult, isn't it, to stick at things sometimes
I
when you
think
get working.
I think but I think it's so important now. I mean, going back to you were talking about what's going to happen, the things that lockdown is easing, and what it's, and especially now with Zoom, what it's basically made is there is just more than ever, there is more noise, through marketing and through people dropping things out there and trying to build stuff. So it's so important now. I mean, the Google thing loves the whole expertise, trust, and authority type thing as well. But it's more important now to nurture that relationship. And that's again where going back, well, it's in general marketing conversations, but even in copy, again, nurturing relationships in copy is something that I do a lot of, and I think a lot of copy misses that part. But it's just having that conversation. It's all the coffee machine conversations were always thought to be a bit, oh well, he's always by the coffee machine, or she was always by the coffee machine, for example. But he or she could have actually been building fantastic relationships by nurturing, and that almost was not ignored, but seemed to go unrecognized. But now we realize how important that just nurturing those touch points, that it doesn't have to be long. It could be just a quick 2-minute conversation, but it's just another touch with somebody, and it's another strand, isn't it?
It goes back to what we were talking about. I think it was last week's episode. We're talking about being front of mind.
Yeah.
And we're just
exactly
like,
right.
to be the person who's front of mind, so that when they do need what you're offering, or they do need your help, they know that it's you that they have to go to.
Yeah.
Not someone else. But just to go in a bit deeper on something you mentioned then, and this is like, if you followed this along, mate, this is absolute gold, but it's going to take some sort of getting your head around. So you mentioned with Google, and you mentioned the EAT, and the kind of the nickname that was given to this was the medic update, because this was, God, what we're talking now, a good 18 months or so ago.
I think so, yeah.
And the medic update came around because it was more so focused at the whole kind of I guess the medic, the kind of health industry, right? And the reason for it is that it wanted to clear up the kind of noise which is out there.
Right.
But for instance, if you go to Google and you type in some sort of symptoms that you have, you're dying, right? You basically have 24 hours. Is that kind of thing. Yeah. Is that they wanted that to dry up, and this, the best way I kind of heard it described is that you imagine if someone needs to, say, warm up a bottle for a baby, right? And they go to Google, and it's not so much actually them typing in Google. The way it was kind of done is that it was all to do with voice search. So if you said, hey, whoever it is that you're talking to on the kind of system, how hot should I, what temperature should I heat this baby's bottle to?
Mm.
And it comes back with something crazy, too hot, right? And you can actually cause harm to the baby, right? That's what Google wants to eliminate,
Yeah.
because they're always trying to give the best, offering to their users, to their customers, which are us who are searching. And like I said, it was called the Medic Update because it hit the medic side, the health side. But then that slowly started to move into different industries.
Right.
And what it impacted search. So the search engine optimization. So someone typing in to find something, they would look for authority. So for instance, if you were say a plumber, right, you need to make sure that and your gas safe registered, you need to make sure that is on your website. So
okay. Yeah.
that, you have that kind of gas safe logo, and it's optimized in the right way to basically indicate to Google that, okay, this is a picture of gas safe, registered logo because I am. And you're going to carry so much more weight in a Google search to someone who doesn't.
Yeah.
And the reason I want to touch on that is because I think that this actually plays into the whole kind of stuff that we've been talking about, and what you were talking about with that kind of know, like, and trust is not just online, because the whole kind of Google stuff is always, that whole kind of world is always a bit ahead of where we're heading in society, I feel. That we are moving that way where transparency is going to be key. People want to know who they're dealing with and what they're dealing with, and the limitations or what you can bring to the table, and they can trust you before they go ahead. And I think that's where a lot of consideration will be made over the next kind of 3 months and stuff like that. Whereas, going back 18 months ago, a company may have took a punt on something, especially in the whole kind of marketing space or, software space or something like that. They might think, we'll give this a go. We'll test it out for 6 months. We'll see what it's like. Whereas now they're really going to make that consideration where it's going to be, okay, do we do that, or do we keep someone employed?
Okay.
And I know went on a bit of a tangent now, went on a few different things, but it's all important stuff, And I think we're talking about these kind of podcasts and stuff like that being gold nuggets. Is that if you just take one part out of that, it is worth its weight in gold. But there was a lot of information. Now I get it, but I think it just ties back into what's coming.
And this is, as you said, you're talking about the eat analogy, and I think that's where you have to find ways to be able to build up your authority and expertise, which I know can be very, very difficult for people starting out. And that's where a strategy starts coming in, because if they blindly start putting stuff out on social media about they've done this and they've done that, and it's not joined together, there's not joining the dots, then it just becomes these separate pieces of well, in the end, fluff. I was going to say stuff, but in the end, fluff. They're just bits that are randomly flowing around in the wind of the Ethernet, but when it's joined up together and you actually can start building that authority, and it's linked together, the dots are joined. Those are the people who are going to benefit more from having a decent strategy in place. And I think it's probably more important than ever to really get a good strategy, a marketing strategy, and not just post a little bit here and some things there, and basically throw all your efforts into the wind, which is what I think a lot of people have done in the past, and probably still are.
Yeah, and that is the big thing, isn't it? I mean, we've mentioned it before about cutting through the noise to actually see, who has some substance behind. And I think I mentioned it in last week's podcast that that there's lots of people putting out claims in what they can do and stuff like that, and it's like, okay, they may be at a certain level that they're not at the level that you're looking for. However, you don't know that. And that's where we've talked a lot about this know, like, and trust, and like your analogies with the strands are great, and know, like, and trust, but actually, like you're saying, the kind of Google update, and we're looking at it that way as kind of expertise, authority, and trust. It's like, well, that is exactly what we're looking for moving forward, aren't we? It's like whatever. I think for everyone, mate, this whole pandemic has been crazy. Where we've all, so some companies have flourished and stuff like that, and we'll come back onto that. But I think for most people, we've been capped, we've been limited on our earnings probably for the past year. So that means that when we spend our money, we have to give that a strong consideration. because we're probably picking something over something else. Well, maybe before we could have gone with both. So now we have to make those decisions, and that's within anything. So if we're going to get, say, a new car, we're going to spend some time really going through that. Whereas where before we might have just you might have found one online and went, yeah, that's all right, I'll get that. Whereas now we might take a good month before we even decide what kind of car we want.
Do you know what springs to mind when you're talking about that is the whole point we made on a couple of podcasts ago, was that if you want to reap a harvest in the autumn, then you've got to start sowing your seed and marketing in the spring. So you've got to start marketing a long time before that's going to come to fruition. So there is this time that you have to spend that time building something up. Very unlikely you're going to be able to plant a seed and all of a sudden you'll get this massive crop of stuff that is going to go. So those people who are making considered decisions will be, Which is a classic, the Which magazine, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's classically, it's for people who, my dad was one of them. If he had to go and buy a car, he would spend months looking through all this different stuff about what car he's going to buy. And then the final decision he made quite quickly, but it's that months of research. And I think, I do think that coming out of the pandemic, you're right. I think people will be spending more time researching and think about how to go, which doesn't rule out startups who don't necessarily have that authority, but they have to work in a more educational way. The only way, again, really, to build that authority is to educate. You educate on the authority and you show your expertise. And once you start educating and people see that, then people can resonate with what you're saying. But I think gone are the days when this is what we do, buy it now.
So it comes back to marketing, doesn't it? Marketing being done properly. Well, like you said, is that kind of buy it now. Yeah, okay, mate. There's still an area where that can work, right? And we're talking about promotion and we're talking about advertising, but marketing is what we're looking at the long game. So even before the kind of pandemic and stuff like that, the way that I would kind of approach things, I always say, look, you need to do your summer marketing in winter and your winter marketing.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the goal that every business needs to get to, because for one, do you know what, mate? You know where resources and funds are being allocated. You know who's doing what, and you know what you're looking to achieve by doing that. And I guess the easiest way to explain this is with the whole kind of fashion world, right? Is that as soon as it's leading up to summer, you can buy your shorts and your vests and all that kind of stuff in the shops, right? They've planned that the winter before. It's not that they've just decided one day, okay, we need to come out with some shorts and vests next week. Let's get onto the suppliers and roll out to X amount of thousand stores or whatever it is. They plan this out in advance, and anything for like any kind of seasonal thing or anything like that within supermarkets, they've planned that in advance so they can get stuff into the shops before it happens. And that's the same thing with marketing. Everyone wants the reward right now, especially within the small business space. The sole traders or the small business. The way they kind of look at it is, right, okay, if I tell someone I've got a special offer or I've got this product that can really help them, they should buy it straight away. And 9 times out of 10, they fail because they don't go through that kind of education process of why someone would need it. And this time of year, pandemic or not, the summer's coming up. The summer's great for some industries, and it's not so great for every kind of industry. Sometimes the whole kind of B2B market can be really quiet throughout the summer. People are getting away, and people, the school holidays and stuff like that, decisions don't really get made until September. And I feel that's going to be a big thing this year.
Especially this year,
because I think people want to get away and have that time together and that experience again, doing something together rather than being just at home. So I think people will definitely look to get away. So I actually feel like there's going to be a quiet time. Whereas then the flip side is the tourist industry should come back within country. I know you can fly internationally and stuff like that, but I think there will be a boom within the UK for UK holidays, and stuff like that. And the tourist trade, and hopefully, again, touch wood, but all different restaurants and stuff like that can then be open, and pubs and even kind of just retail shops within different destinations. And that's where that side of things can really be flourishing seaside resorts and stuff like that, for example, in the summer are great, in the winter not so great, and it's that kind of way for business as well.
And isn't it interesting? I remember seeing an EasyJet advert on telly probably a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
Because it knew things were going to happen. It knew you couldn't fly anywhere at this particular time, but it's starting to sow the seeds so that by the time, fingers crossed, that we can travel more June, July, people will have kept seeing these EasyJet adverts for little, maybe not complete summer holidays, but little weekend breaks or whatever. Yeah. And people think, oh, I've got to get, that's them. I've got to speak to them. No, because they're now they're planting that seed.
Even with that, so even on a small scale, right? And I'll give a shout out to a local business operator. I don't know if you know him, a guy called Elliot Pendergrass, who does the not just travel sort of stuff.
Yes.
So they're helping people with holidays. Like this guy throughout the whole pandemic has still been networking and everything like that. Can't send you anywhere, but you can book for next year and stuff like that, even for like this year. And even when people have had holidays kind of booked in and that country has then been put onto the red list or something like that, he's doing that effort to see like, okay, look, can we still make a holiday happen for you and send you every way? But the reason I'm talking about that is that now that anyone who wants a holiday, that I've known him and stuff like that, who are they going to go to? They're going to go to him, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole point, being that front of mind, doing your marketing and still showing up when maybe someone can't spend money with you, they can't buy, but you're still showing up and you're still educating and you're still letting them know I'm here and you're still giving them some sort of information. It's just great, isn't it? And that to me, right, I think there's that opportunity for those quick wins, like I said, with things like yoga studios opening up. Well, what else can we do? The VIP day is the different kind of training. Could people even rent the studio to do their training, and stuff like that? But then now is that perfect time to plan. Look, what's the plan for September? What do we put in place now that from September is really going to work for us, and how can we build up to that really happening?
Yeah, and that's absolutely, because I think in a lot of cases that's going to become more apparent, isn't it? So retail, like you said, planning for retail industry has been huge, because planning summer for Christmas and planning sort of October for Easter and this kind of stuff.
It's earlier every year.
Yeah, but I think services are going to, there is going to be. I mean, I was just reading recently on a Bank of England, for example, they reckon that they have a forecast for economic growth of 7.25% or something, wow, which equates to a lot, because last year it was a complete loss.
Yeah.
That means if we're going to have a quiet summer, which is likely, because if they do open up the doors, people are just going to think, I can go somewhere, and they'll go somewhere. And as you said, decisions won't really be made. There'll be stuff trickling through maybe, but September comes and people are going to say, right now we're going to get back to business and start working. There's likely to be a huge boom in money being spent on things, whatever those things may be.
Going back, mate, just to jump in on that part, I think exactly what you're saying. So, do you know what? Like doors opening, I think there's going to be a lot of emotional decisions being made, and that's more about personal though. It's not about business. That's going to be more about personal and how you can improve your feeling and everything like that.
Yeah.
Come September, from a business point of view, this is when the logical decisions will be made.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I mean, I say that tentatively, I guess, because all decisions still start with that emotion and then the logic. But I get what you're saying. Yeah, the summer is that we've been down in lockdown for far too long. We just need to break out, and they just want to get out. And
so I guess I agree what you're saying there. I guess from what I mean more so is that serious decisions will be made from September.
Yeah, and they will.
The kind of the shorter term will be made.
Because there are some businesses that have been going on and that have made huge savings, because there's been no commuting, there's been no office rental, that kind of stuff. So there are some businesses that will have spare cash. So when it comes to September, they say, right, how can we really, really make a good move? And they're going to be wanting to spend. And if you're not starting that Yeah, if you're not starting sowing the seeds now and only start sowing the seeds in September, you're going to miss out on all those people who've been really, really working hard behind the scenes to be front of mind, like you said. So when people start to think about September, because we've got to remember that December may be a quiet month, as it always used to be. So September, October, November is going to be the quarter that people are going to really start. Yeah. Okay, we got to get this in place, do this. So I think that the months leading up, the month September up to leading up to beginning of December are going to be critical for a lot of people, because that's where there's going to be a lot of money floating about.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's where, you know, that there is that opportunity there to take advantage, and that starts. It should have started, you know, 6 months ago. But if you haven't, it definitely starts now. And
it definitely starts.
I'm thinking that there's an IT company I know, and they've just gone from strength to strength within this whole pandemic, you know, and people working from home and people looking at remote workers and stuff like that. But they basically added another division to their company, which is all around kind of software. So what they would do is they would build out bespoke software for companies. And I was chatting to one of the directors there, and he just said, yeah, do you know what, they can't keep up with the demand, where there's bigger companies who have been doing things and have been growing throughout this time. And they've been investing in the infrastructure to improve their business, and not just improve it from, you know, the customer experience side of things and making things happen that way, but also improving it from a cost saving measure in their own business. You know, is that now they've had that time where maybe, you know, people at home and stuff like that they've had that time to put in place that kind of software and that automation and stuff like that maybe before they were too busy to look at.
Yeah, I think that is very apparent, where a lot of big companies even as well, but smaller companies have just said, we're not opening. The office isn't opening anymore. It just has this automation type thing. And you can argue that for some employees that maybe not the thing they want to hear, because they love to be out with people. But I think that from a company perspective, they just say, look, we don't need to have all the cars on the road. We don't need to be spending the fuel. We don't need the rental of the office. Actually, we can work pretty well, in fact, maybe even more efficiently, with the right systems in place, from people working from homes, and maybe having drop-in centers as opposed to offices.
I think that is exactly a bit. I think that whole kind of hybrid model of, do you know what, the option is for your member of staff to take, rather than forcing them, right? And it's, you know, not to go into any details, but there's a guy I know. He works for, you know, a massive company. He's quite high up and everything like that. And throughout the lockdown, he's obviously been working at home, and a decision has been made that they're not going to force them to go back into the office. Right, like not even a case of, you know, until this date. It's just been said, we're not going to force you to come back into the office. We're going to give you the option. And he said, for the likes of himself, he said, it's great. He said, you know, I'm not spending 2 hours in the car, to work and getting home from work, or needing to leave at 5 a.m. in the morning to beat the traffic, get into work.
Well, that's right.
And it's like he's saying that his day's just so more productive. And also another member of staff of his, they do all their work in the evening.
Yes.
So that's where they're more productive, but they never had that choice before.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like that person could be doing more work in 3 or 4 hours in an evening because of productive than what they were doing as a 9 to 5 in the office.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because there was always this supposedly flexible working times that people went on about. The companies some companies never really offered, and it was never taken up by people either. But now it's just become the norm, flexible working, you know. And I think that for companies that try to get back to what was normal, which I don't think they ever will, and we said this at the very beginning of the call, didn't we? That they are going to be they're going to be putting a ball and chain around their ankle, because there's going to be people, like you said, who really perform between 8 and 9. I know one person in particular, between 2 and 4 in the morning is her sweet spot. Now, I couldn't even imagine that, but hey, you know.
Wow. That was
and
20 years ago.
so she could never work in an office because how many offices are open at that time in the morning?
Yeah.
But now she can be really productive for a company because if there's a project working on, and it's now not about being there 9 to 5. It's about getting the work done, and that's been a huge shift because she can get the work done, and the company can still say come in the morning and say, oh right, it's all been done, brilliant. And I think that's been a huge shift because I know that before there was a lot of 9 to 5, not quite looking over the shoulder, but you had to be in your seat. Because if you weren't in your seat, you weren't working, which is, as we know, is complete tosh, really. But just on that, really, really interesting thing I heard, I don't know, about a month ago, is that Amstrad, Alan Sugar, he wants people bums on seats. He doesn't want any flexible working. He says it's all. I don't know what his exact words were, but I can imagine they were quite ripe. But he said it's just a load of crap. I don't believe in it, and they've all got to come back in. I wonder how many Amstrad employees will stay.
And yeah, okay, that's perfect, right? Because it's not who are any of us to question Lord Sugar, right? I mean, he's the stuff that he's done. Hats off to him. I guess he's for the UK and stuff like that. Yeah, he's probably one of the most successful businessmen. Business person that
absolutely
has been. But the flip side is what I was going to say was that summing up this whole kind of chat. I think that what we're bringing everything back to is lifestyle. And I think that lifestyle is going to be the key thing. Whatever any decision is going to be made by an individual is going to come back to lifestyle. And whether that's they're doing something for the experience for them and their family, just to do something, whether it's any kind of purchase that they're going to make for their business or the way that they can move their business forward, or even if they're working for a company, everything is going to come back to lifestyle.
Yeah,
because I think what has basically opened up within the whole kind of pandemic is that we don't have to be in an office all day every day.
That's right.
And we can potentially earn the same amount, if not more, working from home.
Yeah.
And it's like we don't necessarily have to do the same job as what we've been doing, because we know that we've got these skills now that people need and are in demand and stuff like that. And there's probably going to be even more people that go down the self-employed route and the business route and stuff like that, and possibly even work for two companies part-time and earn more money because they can do more part-time for one company that they would do full-time before.
Yeah, that's good. Very good point. Yeah, I agree. I think that's true actually. Especially the point that you made then about more people going into self-employment. And let's just, I mean, sorry to hop on, but let's just take the Amstrad thing for a moment. So we all know that London is horrendous to get around. So an employee is then going to be asked to go back into work. They're going to have a 1, possibly 2-hour commute. They're going to have to be there. They're going to have nowadays a half an hour lunchtime, so they're going to have to grab something quick, whereas they've been used to getting down to the kitchen maybe and fixing themselves something they really wanted, rather than going to the shop and buying
just a health side as well, right?
Yep, the health side, everything. Those kind of people are going to think, actually, you know what, I could have a side hustle. Let's see what's available, and maybe now start to think about, well, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to start to build this alongside my job in Amstrad with a view to leaving that job and just doing this full time. A lot more people are trying to do that, I think, and I've noticed. I've noticed a lot more startups. I know it sounds weird, people starting a business in the pandemic, but seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and people thinking about, actually, I'm going to start creating a business now, because this has been the ideal time for them, because they are home with their kids and they're home with their partners, husbands, wives, whatever, and they've got some support now because people have seen how different life is. That has been, while we've been locked down.
I think as well, mate, even for myself and the likes of you and people in the whole kind of making money online kind of space, is that that's been the goal all along. Is that you want to be able to do your own thing when you want and earn a living, right? Maybe not necessarily get rich, but it's just, make that kind of improvement, get that lifestyle that you want. Whereas I feel that the whole kind of world now has opened up to that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, don't get me wrong, people are still going to go and, get that kind of safety net as the secure job and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Not saying to anyone to leave any employment to go and start up, but everyone should be working on something.
Yes.
They should be working on something that can support them financially, because everything we've seen within the whole kind of pandemic is, look, if you're relying on business and stuff like that, and even if you're relying for your business at the minute, you're relying on one sort of referral line or one sort of income stream, well, you need to change that, because anything can happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. And mate, you know what, I think we've been on this podcast for a little while now, so maybe we should start to wrap this one up. But something just to go into, I mean, at the end of last week's podcast, we were talking about, maybe we should do a mastermind,
Oh yes, we did. Yeah.
We had a serious conversation. We had some real consideration there, where we were going to do it, and we were going to set out for next month, and we were going to look at, okay, well, 21st of June, places should be, the roadmap should mean that everything's lifted within the UK, business back to normal. Let's get it in then. And we basically made that decision where it was just like, you know what, that's not going to give us long enough to, for one, find the right people that we want within the kind of mastermind, but for two, to make sure that we can give the best kind of mastermind that there needs to be, to give that support and that infrastructure and everything like that. So, we've said, look, if we are going to do it, we're going to move it back to September.
Yeah. That's right.
But what we do want to do is look at what we could do short term. So whether it's just some training, or whether it's a smaller kind of club or something like that to help people.
Yeah. And I think we did talk, and I think that could be really useful for people.
But it's also as well, I guess, just from a business point of view, is that it can be easy just to jump in and start something without that kind of proper consideration.
Yeah.
Where it's like we could jump in and we could go all in on creating that, and we could even fill it how we wanted. We were saying that we would need 10 people or 8 people or something like that to have a really good mastermind. And it's like we could get that, however, we may not give those customers the best experience and value and stuff like that. So we want to make sure that is right.
Yeah.
And it's that, I think there's just an important business lesson in there, that sometimes it's easier to chase the money, when actually making that proper decision is better long term.
I think so. And I think it's because, it's interesting, isn't it? You talk about the chasing the money. I think it's all now about, even more so, I mean, probably always was a little bit, but now more so it's about what value can you add? How can you make the experience something just that blows people's minds, rather than just yet another, like we were talking about, and we didn't want to create just another mastermind. There's lots of people referring to them now. They don't necessarily follow what I would call a proper mastermind, and we wanted to create a really, really good experience. So hence the fact that we've made that decision that we want it to be the kind of a really luxury model of mastermind. So we're looking at without necessarily having a massive luxury price tag.
That's the big thing. I mean,
it's all about the value, giving the best we can for a reasonable reward, but to make sure that it's not prohibitive to people.
I think that's the big thing. I think this is why for one, us like you and I, we get on, and the way how we look to serve people is we want to give them more value. So if we do something, we want to do it properly. We don't just want to do something just to make some quick money or make or just do something for the sake of it. And that kind of thing, like you said, is not necessarily putting a luxury price tag on that, because you want it to be affordable, but you also want to deliver a high value. That that the people who are actually serious get so much value and reward out of it. And I think there's that kind of message, that kind of summary, I think, from everything we've been saying now, is that you have to give that value. No matter what you're doing, you have to give that value. So you have to plan that in advance. You have to give it some strong consideration for what you're trying to do. And it's just like, you have to make it right for you as well. I mean, that whole thing, if we were going to start that mastermind, we would be really busy over the next 4 weeks putting that in play.
Where
we would be under stress. We would probably make the wrong decisions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's not the lifestyle that we want. So
Yeah.
it's like that whole thing, I think, for anyone listening, is that's what they have to do. Those decisions that they make moving forward have to fit them in their lifestyle.
Yes.
And support, and possibly even that kind of business vision, or those business goals that they have, change to reflect their lifestyle.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's probably actually a good point, mate, to end on, because I think next week what we can talk about is like that lesson, say the biggest lesson that I learned from you back when you did a seminar about 4 years ago, and you talked about life goals, because I think that's more relevant than ever now.
Yeah.
Because I think people's life goals have changed over the past year.
Yeah, I think they have, definitely. Yeah.
I think that we'll bring it to a close. What we will say is even though we're not going to do the mastermind, we are looking at some different things. And over on the website, there is a box that you can join our supporters list, so that you can find out more information. So just go to strategyandconversions.com. You can get on there. We may start putting some stuff on social media as well.
Yeah,
So,
we'll do that.
check out social media for Strategy and Conversions. And wherever you're listening to this, if you get any value, leave us a review, or give us your kind of input, and obviously subscribe. But yeah, I think, mate, I think that's pretty much it from me. Is there anything you want to add in or summarize today's meeting?
No, I think we've done, as I say, it's the value thing. That's the big message that's come out, albeit at the end, but the value. And one of the, I think, good things that we talk about next week is when we do talk about life goals, it's about understanding why we want things, because decisions become so much easier once we understand, have a really powerful why in our lives.
I love it. Looking forward to next week's episode already.
Yeah, should be good. Yeah.
So I think that we'll end it there. We'll bring it to a close. Thank you always for listening. Thank you for your time. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Cheers, everyone.